Hey, hey, hey. Live from Denver. It's Friday night. Hey, everybody. Let's make sure we're all good in the hood here. We are. I'm letting my 90s show. So it's Friday night, and as you can see, I am joined by my beautiful wife, Melissa.
Hello.
And we are very happy that she is here. Let me just check one more time. Yeah, it looks like we're coming in loud and clear, which is really good. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, Juliana. Thanks for showing up. Excellent. Okay, and boy, by the way, what a Friday night. About, an hour ago or something, it started coming down?
Yeah, all of a sudden it's just crazy snow.
Like crazy snow, like great big chunky kind of, I almost said summery snow. That doesn't make any sense.
Spring snow? I don't know.
Spring snow, I don't know. April, Colorado snow, just kind of chunky. But curtains of it. I mean, it's just pouring down right now outside our window.
Did you guys all see what happened in Dubai?
My God, right?
The rainstorm of like the century. Man.
Yeah, that was biblical. She showed me a video earlier, and I was like, holy cow, I have not seen weather like that. Rain, torrential. I mean, flooding. The airplanes were flooded. I mean, they just did not. They're just not set up for that. Didn't see that coming. Whatever. I mean, it's Dubai, so yeah, snow globe. That's exactly. Perfect. That's exactly. Thank you, Debbie. That's exactly what it looks like when I look out my window right now. I feel like I'm in a snow globe. So yeah, slurry snow. There we go. You guys are on top of it. All right. So
yeah, that's right, Leslie. It was that much rain.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, 1 year's worth of rain in one day. Yeah. Oh, what a time to be alive, huh? Truly. I mean, it's, I always am falling back to David Bowie. I don't know what's coming next, but I promise it won't be boring.
Oh yeah.
Right, that whole thing. I don't know what I'm gonna do next.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I was just thinking about people that survived yesterday because I saw some of that stuff flying around. It's like, man, there's a psychological study you could do is events and disasters like that, like the aftermath and psychologically speaking. Yeah.
That's for sure. That's right. I realize as we're sitting here right now that we are a little off center.
Oh,
you can actually come in a little bit. Yeah, and we could be framed a little better. I've as I'm always tinkering and doing, I've moved some things around and I've got a smaller monitor here, so I've got more room over here, which really makes a difference for me. But we're calibrating. All right, now let us never forget to get to our Snuggles Not Struggles cam. And here is our warm.
There he is.
There's our little warm and fuzzy fur baby.
Whapping his little tail.
That's right. And he's just chilling in the hallway here. We have
kind of dirty because it was so wet today and he got out there.
Yes, exactly. But he's wandering around, and this is literally actually right in the middle. I posted a photo during the week of my e-meter out. This is the space it's in. You can't see any of that around him. But that's what that tripod is sitting there for, because we're going to be shooting some e-meter stuff. And anyway, and there he's just chilling today. That's his favorite toy, that rope.
Oh yeah, he loves that.
Yeah, that's our.
He plays tug of fetch with it.
That's it, tug of fetch. That's the one. So anyway, so there's your Snuggles Not Struggles cam for the week. Our little bundle of furry joy, hopefully bringing you some furry joy into your life. Yeah, so much. So tonight, I think we should probably just kind of get right into what we want to talk about in terms of the topic of the show, because we've got a lot to go over tonight. This was all Mel's brainchild. This is all due to her, that she gave me this idea of, hey, we should talk about, or this is something that's important to me, and obviously for a lot of different reasons as we go over tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have a quote?
Yes, I do.
Oh, pull out your quote. Yeah, sorry, I totally spaced on that.
All right,
God,
this
Chris.
is my quote about, well, this is someone's quote about misinformation. At any given moment, public opinion is a chaos of superstition, misinformation, and prejudice. Gore Vidal.
Sounds accurate to me, Gore.
Yeah.
I always wondered how it is somebody could name their kid Gore.
It's a weird first name, but...
It must be some foreign thing or something.
Yeah.
Because I don't, or
it
whatever.
It doesn't sound like an English sort of name.
No.
Yeah.
No. See? You look gorgeous. Yeah, I told you. Right there in the comments. There it is.
Oh, there it is.
I keep telling her these things. I don't think she believes me. I really don't think she believes me. I think it's a familiarity bias now. She's like, yeah, whatever. Whatever, dude. All right. So as I was saying, we have this topic this evening on medical misinformation. And for those of you, just to set this up a little bit, for those of you who don't know, you are type 1 diabetic.
Yes, type 1 diabetic.
And why don't we actually go ahead and start with, now it says here medical misinformation and cults, and that's not clickbait. We are going to be relating all of this stuff back to that. But we're going to talk about medical misinformation here, and I want to contextualize this right off with who you are.
Okay.
Okay, so what is type 1 diabetes?
Okay, let me think about how to simplify. So basically what happens is, and this can happen at any age they've discovered now, your autoimmune system gets triggered for whatever reason. Maybe it's a virus. Maybe it's a gene turning on because of stress. They're not sure what triggers the autoimmune system to do this exactly, but your autoimmune system turns on full force and it starts attacking your own body, specifically your pancreas and the cells in your pancreas that make insulin. And it just kills all those cells. And you usually find out you're type 1 diabetic when you have very few cells left, if any, because insulin and the cells that make insulin are it's keeping your blood sugar in check. And if your blood sugar isn't in check, then bad things are going to happen. You're not going to be able to break down food, and your blood sugar is going to shoot through the roof. Then you get sick, you get ketoacidosis, you end up in the hospital. Maybe you die.
Yeah,
it's bad.
And that's when your sugar levels go really super high.
Yeah, when I was diagnosed, my blood sugar was 700. I don't know how I didn't end up staying in the hospital overnight that day, but
Right. What is a healthy range?
80 to 120.
Right. Right. So we start getting concerned if it goes below 80 or if it goes too high, especially
over like
300. Yeah, exactly. So just to throw some numbers at you and throw a few things around, and if you've never heard of this or had to deal with this before, I understand it's something that's not been in your space, but it's a great. Here's what I wanted to do tonight. Here's my theory here on the show tonight. Right, is that one of the best ways to educate people about a cult that they're stuck in or a cult that they're in is to talk about other cults. Mm-hmm. Well, one of the ways to help talk about medical misinformation might be to talk about something that y'all might not necessarily be fully familiar with, but it's interesting enough and wild enough and there's enough relatable medical misinformation about diabetes that I think we'll be able to connect these dots very easily between anything you guys have run into out there, what she's run into, and then we'll relate it to cult stuff too, because it's all part of a picture. Misinformation and sleazy shysters and pseudoscientific remedies and treatments. We're going to talk about all that stuff tonight. So let's go ahead and get started. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So in general, first off, just to clear up what we mean by medical misinformation, there's a few categories of this. It refers to any false, inaccurate, or misleading information related to health and medicine. Anything at all, right? False, misleading, taking you down the rosy path. Oh, no, if you just take these vitamins, everything is going to be wonderful, would be some medical misinformation. It's spread through various channels, including social media, websites, traditional media, and word of mouth. I've seen it in all of those venues and formats. I'm sure you have too, right? Documentaries, news articles, in the evening news featuring or highlighting some total bullshit and not even calling it out for what it is.
Oh, yeah. They don't investigate. Yeah. It's
like
frustrating.
That. Very. Can range from harmless myths and misconceptions to more dangerous claims that can have serious consequences.
Y'all, diabetes, especially type 1, is not caused by eating too much sugar. Can we just put that to death now? Put that to rest.
Exactly. Because there's type 1 and type 2, and they're different. So different, they might as well practically be different.
Yeah, what's similar is we both have trouble with insulin. Type 1s don't make any, type 2s can't absorb it. But there are a lot of other similarities too, like how our blood sugar can get low and what we feel like when our blood sugar is high and stuff like that. But
yeah,
it's a little different. And sometimes type 2 diabetics end up taking insulin, but most of the time they can do it with pills and diet and everything. But yeah, there's differences. And you know, I've met people that were healthy, they were into sports, they were athletic, and they became type 1 diabetic. And same with type 2s. I mean, it doesn't just affect people that are bigger. There are plenty of skinny, healthy adults that develop type 2 diabetes. So
exactly. And there's
and
and the whole blame the victim mentality out there is a big part of how a lot of this stuff that we'll talk about here flourishes, right? It really thrives on that guilt and shame and blame kind of attitude about people who suffer from various conditions. So there are more, there's a few categories here we could say, or different examples of this that I thought we might go over. The first one is false claims in terms of medical misinformation, false claims about the effectiveness of certain treatments or remedies. Just straight up false claims about how good some, bleaching your butt or standing out
shooting
in the
coffee
sun.
Up your butt for a coffee.
There's a lot of butt remedies out there, man.
I don't know why people
weird.
are so obsessed with
I don't know.
And doing things to your butt to make you better.
It really boggles me how much butt fetish stuff there is out there. So moving on. So false claims about this. We have a couple examples that I wanted to share. One of them would be online influencers with their detox teas and supplements. Oh, don't even get me started on detoxing.
There is no amount of dieting, cinnamon, or anything else that's going to make my body start making insulin again without taking insulin through some sort of injection. So
you mean that there aren't herbal supplements that are a natural cure for diabetes?
Yeah, they just somehow affect your pancreas and make it start making islet cells again, I guess.
But I saw it. I saw it on Facebook today. I saw
and
it.
It must be real.
Must be real. Cure for diabetes. I swear it's out there. And these claims, of course, will always be promoted with, well, we'll get to that. I guess we'll get to that. I don't want to
make a comment.
Yeah.
Debbie, you are right. Dr. Oz is a charlatan.
Oh my God, completely. Just became that way just through the model of how he was running stuff, right?
I think that's what's scary is even your medical professionals can give you medical misinformation, and that really. And then because of that, that leads to even more abuse of like medical misinformation and things like that, because then you don't trust the system because even your doctors can lie to you. Then you turn to the alternative medicine and then they're all lying to you, but they're so much more confident and they're like, oh yeah.
And confidence really is, as we know, confidence is key in selling people things, right? The more confident, charismatic, forward a person is, the more believable they become in the eyes of so many people.
People like an answer. And so someone tells you if you shoot this coffee enema up your butt and it'll cure your cancer, then people are like, well, that sounds great because doing 60 hours of chemo is awful. So maybe this will help.
Exactly. And that's a really good point, is sometimes the cure or the medically sound evidence-based solution is too expensive, too inaccessible,
very uncomfortable,
or too uncomfortable, or too much of a process to go through in order for a person to be able to do it. And I don't. My back, for example, right? I'm supposed to get back surgery, and that's not going to happen. So, what do? You just do the best you can with it, right? Yeah, confidence tricksters. Exactly. Thank you, Fluffy Wickets. Exactly right. Okay, so we have false claims, right? We also have, and this is also rampant out there, misinterpretation of scientific studies or cherry picking data to support a particular viewpoint, right? Confirmation bias, as it's otherwise called. We get this with anti-vaccine activists misrepresenting studies to falsely claim a link between vaccines and autism.
And that guy's study was proven false so many times.
Oh my God! And it's not to say that there's never been any problem anywhere with vaccines. This isn't a black and white thing. But to invalidate the entire field of immunology because you don't like Fauci or your politics or something, that's crazy. But that's what people do.
Yeah, it's.
Or what about this one?
Which one?
This one here.
Oh yeah, the low carb diets, keto and stuff like that, like
as a treatment for diabetes.
Yeah, as a treatment for diabetes. Look, that shit's unhealthy. It's been proven. There's been studies done. It's just better to eat a balanced diet, and I'm sure we could all do better at that. But that's the key for any form of diabetes, is a balanced diet, and it won't cure you, a balanced diet, but it will help.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with having a balanced diet.
But just eating so much of one thing and then leaving an important thing out, that's not healthy. Whether you're like doing a low carb diet or you're doing, maybe you're just doing carbs and you're leaving out the proteins, either way is bad.
Exactly.
It's also bad if your carbs are all candy bars, but if you're eating fruit and vegetables and whole grains, okay, then you're doing fine.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, I guess because of the nature of what we're doing, I probably should have led the show with, we are not medical experts and we're not pretending to be.
No.
Right? That's not what the show's about, right? I'm a psych guy and I'm more on the psychological side of this stuff. But we are
You don't have to listen to me.
Yeah, we are talking medical stuff here, so let me throw that out there as a disclaimer. Okay, another way this manifests, another category of
another
this.
Thing real fast about the low carb diets, high fat protein ones, that causes a lot of people to go into ketoacidosis too, because you have lower carbs in your system, so then you think you can get away with taking less insulin, and then you're taking less insulin, and then your body isn't getting enough insulin, and then it starts going into ketoacidosis, and it starts shutting down. So it's not. A lot of people, there's this big thing around the internet where it's like, oh, I just need to lower my insulin intake. And you're like, maybe, but the thing is we all have a different need too. Like, different body types need different amounts of insulin. And that's why you have an endocrinologist that you work with that figures that out with you. But to say that there's like, that it's good to have just a low level of insulin,
Exactly.
From what I've been taught and what I know, that's what I know,
All right. Well, we also have, in addition to the false claims and misinterpretation or cherry picking, you get straight up conspiracy theories about the medical establishment or pharmaceutical industry. And this is where things get really dark and kind of weird. Because now we're going to mind
Pharma's
read.
Keeping the cure away.
That's right. Now we're gonna read the minds of all the medical professionals and all the pharmaceuticals and all the boards of directors, and we're gonna know they are all of nefarious intent with grand designs of a slave society and this sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't think it goes that dark. I mean, there's definitely greed in pharmaceutical industries. There is definitely greed, and we've seen that with some of these guys that are getting in trouble and going to jail and stuff like that. But
let's differentiate that from medical misinformation.
Everybody in the field,
which has to do with specifically conspiracy theories. That's exactly what we're talking about right now. It's not a conspiracy theory that companies are greedy.
Right.
That's just a fact, and it's something we have to
saying
deal
that
with.
They're hiding a cure for cancer. I mean, the people that actually discover the cure for whatever disease we're talking about, they probably are trying to find the cure because of someone they love.
Oh yeah.
Or loved at some point in time. So why would they keep that away, you know? No.
This is where things get into Scientology land. Yeah. Because that's the kind of thing that Scientologists believe. And far down the rabbit hole, conspiracy theorists, your 9/11 truther level stuff, where there's this idea that these companies are so nefarious that they actually are sitting on or suppressing medicine from moving forward because they have the cures, they have the knowledge, they have the information, they're just not giving it out to anybody. I don't know that I've ever seen a conspiracy theory of that nature verified as true. I think it's been pure fantasy from the beginning on that. I don't recall one. I just think
it would be too hard to keep it secret.
Well, that's the thing, and medicine and medical professionals are not the people who are, especially the researchers. They dedicate their life to discovering these things, and if you're the person or you're part of a team who does that, and you're going to be told, "Oh yeah, now you can't tell anybody about it," when you've accomplished, what would have been impossible. No way.
What few people do, yeah.
People aren't going to sit on that. How, no way. Okay. Then there is promoting unproven or disproven alternative medicine practices as effective treatment. So this is just straight up, this doesn't work, or we don't have any idea if this works, but we're going to say it's completely legit and valid, and let's go for it and let's do it. And there are examples of this running around in the ex-Scientology world right now, but I'm not going to go there tonight other than to say that. I will say, in terms of examples of this, have you ever seen at this sort of detox diet thing that claims that fasting or consuming special juices can cleanse the body of toxins and reverse diabetes?
I've heard that. I've heard, certain other kinds of diets will reverse diabetes, even type 1 somehow. One of the most hilarious ones, I think I mentioned it earlier in the show, is cinnamon. Yeah, there's a myth thing going around that's been going around for 1 billion years about if you just have cinnamon in your diet, you will cure your type 1 diabetes. I don't know how that's supposed to work. I mean, tell me how it works.
Well, sometimes that's the question, right? Sometimes when somebody poses a thing like that, you have to just look at him and go, okay, could you please explain to me how that works? Because I don't understand, and I'm since you're so sure that it is and it does, then perhaps you can explain to me how that works. And you all know that the test of experts and real expertise is they can explain their subject to a third grader, right? It's like how to talk about it in such a way that people can understand what you're talking about. That's what expertise is.
Right.
People who don't really know what they're talking about can't do that, or they fumble around about it, or they screw around and they don't really answer the question. They just make it look like they're trying to, right? Mm-hmm. They throw something at you. They won't always just bumble about, but you can tell by the quality of answer you get who the kind of person you're dealing with. So pushing false total nonsense and saying this is an absolutely scientific-based, evidence-based cure or solution to the problem would be gross medical misinformation. And then finally, there is spreading rumors or myths about the causes or transmission of diseases.
Yeah.
Okay, and for example, the 5G technology being responsible for the spread of COVID. And
once again, how does that work?
I was about to say, right? Exactly. I would if somebody sat, and nobody's ever done this to me, but if somebody in real life were to sit down in front of me and tell me that was true, I would literally give them some paper and a pencil and I say, I want you to show me, I want you to describe to me, tell me exactly how that is accomplished. because I cannot make the connection between cellular tower phone waves and COVID as a virus in my body. So yeah, I will definitely say that. But here there are suggestions here, for example, on social media, that eating too much sugar directly causes diabetes, which you said right off, right?
It doesn't, especially type 1. It doesn't.
That's right. Excessive sugar intake can contribute to weight gain and increase the risk of type 2 diabetes, but that's not the same thing as it's the sole cause.
You can be a big person and still never get diabetes, and you could be a very small person and get type 2 diabetes. It's just being of a certain weight, I think, can help trigger whatever it is that causes it, but I don't think that's the cause in and of itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? There's correlation, causation, these are different things. And there are contributory factors versus primary factors or causes, right? There's secondary causes. There's things that there's a thing you can do that could possibly cause another thing, which could possibly be a primary cause for this thing. But that doesn't mean that, you get the logic. Okay, so that's basically like the kind of rundown we wanted to do on okay, what are we talking about when we talk about medical misinformation, conspiracy theories, false cures, total nonsense, scams, right? This kind of stuff. How does this relate to cults and cult recovery? Well, quite obviously, we all know in Scientology, for example, and certainly in other cults, conspiracy theories can run wild, not just about the cults themselves, but fads and conspiracy thinking that because somebody's already in a conspiratorial frame of mind, and Scientologists are, you can pile in more. It becomes easier. It's fertile ground for you to now put more in. And I can't tell you how many fad diets, for example, I saw race through Pac Base, the blue buildings in LA where I work. That's the Pacifica Base. And we would get raw meat diet. We had Chinese herbal remedies.
Diet is what that would be.
We had MSM. Multi-sodium, something or other. Anyway, we had these MSM pills, fly through. Everybody was taking them like on the hour every day or something. We had so many different nonsensical diet fads and crazes and various things fly through the Sea Org. It was really quite interesting the
only reason people would be losing weight on a raw meat diet is because they'd be developing worms. That's what happens when you eat raw beef and stuff.
Okay, well, so yeah, so here's some of the problems that so if a destructive cult is its own little mini culture, and it is, and if it's led by an individual who has a conspiratorial mindset, and most of them do, I can't sit here and say most of them. I can say that that it appears to me from the cults that I've studied and seen over the years outside of Scientology that there is very fertile ground there. Let's go back to that idea, right? That within these cultic worlds, within these bubble worlds, for conspiracy type thinking. There's a lot of similarity between cultic thinking and conspiracy theory thinking in terms of us versus them, black and white thinking, use of logical fallacies to justify the thinking or the belief set, right? It's very dogmatic. These things all, same. So this can get in the way hugely for ex-cult members of any stripe. Hitting the world, they are faced with unique challenges, and because of the fact that they grew up in or were part of a cult for long enough that it messed with their head, and coming out of it, they're now seeing medical misinformation flying around in the world. What are they supposed to think? How are they supposed to think about this? How do they navigate it? Well, here's some of the problems, right? Conflicting information. Former cult members, they're grappling with conflicting beliefs from the cult. They're trying to readjust to the big wide world and deal with resorting out their belief set. And exposure to medical information inside the cult as well as outside can exacerbate the confusion. Let me give you, a great example is in Scientology is vitamins, assists, the various medical remedies that Scientology lays on its members, right? Don't take aspirin, don't take ibuprofen, don't take medicine, don't trust doctors. Stay away from hospitals. They're just meat markets. They're just there to butcher you. What you need are, satanic remedies. I love playing with that word.
Satanic.
They don't really use it in Scientology that way, but they should. So, right, you can struggle with this coming out of Scientology. What's right? What's wrong? How am I supposed to think about this stuff? So this can really throw you for even more of a loop when you've been riddled with and loaded down with medical misinformation inside the cult that you have to still sort out. Trust issues are another big one, right? Because here we have a distrust of the outside world. Combine that a little bit with what I was talking about before, right? Where you get these lines in the cults about how you can't trust medicine or medical establishment or doctors. You're only supposed to trust the cult's healing remedies, right? You got to go meditate for 10 hours. That's what's going to get rid of your fever. You need to go, prostrate yourself in the barn with 20 lashes, right? And pray all night long. And that's how you're going to get cured of the demons that are residing within you. You don't have to take any of that and those antibiotics that those stupid doctors keep talking about. This could set up incredible trust issues with a person where even after they escape the cult, they're still clinging to those cultic habits and bad habits and thoughts like don't trust doctors. They don't think about stuff like that as part of the cult. They don't always see it that way, people who survive these groups. They think that those non-religious or non-guru beliefs, the things that aren't focused on the guru, those are probably true, right? I shouldn't be trusting doctors. I shouldn't be trusting any medicine. I shouldn't be taking any of these pills, right? They carry that stuff with them. It can take forever to strip off all that stuff on top of the cult beliefs. Oh, and then, of course, you have misguided beliefs about health, right? Cults frequently promote alternative medical practices that are not supported by science, and they have internalized beliefs that make them resistant. Here is where we run into, in Scientology, for example, the source of all your issues and problems with your body is your thetan. All of it. All of it. Right? You have a pain in your stomach, it's your thetan.
Oh, yeah. Ignore that kidney failure. It's just your thetan.
That's right. It's your chakras that are out of alignment.
You're not having a heart attack.
You got to get them back in alignment, right? You got to get your crystals in order. This kind of thing. And then, of course, when you're dealing with people who have left a cult or cult situation, you have... some real psychological vulnerability, right? They may be searching for answers, meaning, or a sense of belonging, which can make them more susceptible to charismatic individuals or groups peddling medical information. In other words, they're susceptible to cult hopping, right? They're susceptible to falling for another authoritarian guru confidence man. And that can mess you up when it comes to your medicine and your medical condition, right?
That's one of the things that makes me really angry about that kind of stuff is people that are new to whatever illness, like people that are new to type 1 diabetes, maybe they just got diagnosed a couple months ago or a year ago or something, or someone that's new to cancer, is people giving them, or any disease where someone's giving them misinformation and they haven't had the disease or condition or whatever long enough to really be able to tell the difference between what's BS and what's not. And they're just willing to soak up information and figure it out, and they're new to it, it's scary, and that's when they're vulnerable to a lot of misinformation, and that's what sucks. I hate when that happens, and that's why I get mad, because it's like you could hurt someone, you could physically harm them or kill them with some of this misinformation.
Very easily. Anyway, yeah, it's just ugh. Okay. Another factor for ex-cult members is isolation and social networks. Oh yeah, right. Because these are challenges, right? That ex-cult members have to deal with, and isolation is one of them. Because often when you first come out of a situation like that, and for quite some time afterwards, you can feel very alone. You can feel very misunderstood or not understood, or you struggle to find people who can kind of empathize with your situation. Sometimes you don't. Often, the cult member doesn't really understand it themselves. They're still sorting it out. And that's one of the reasons that sometimes they can stay isolated or feel alone. There's trust issues, but there's also just a timidity, just I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know who to talk to, and I don't know who I can or can't trust, and all of that kind of problem, and having to establish social networks newly coming out of a cult. You got to dump the old one. Maybe there's still some vestiges of it. You got to figure out what to do about that, and you got to build up some new support network or new social network. And in the middle of all of this comes an inability or a difficulty with sorting out medical information, right? Or how to deal with issues or problems that you might be having of a mental or physical nature. Right, just that challenge of the social networks and the isolation stuff can be its own challenge for dealing with this. And then, of course, finally, on top of all of this, these are, that's more of a logistical side or a sort of, creating your new life kind of side. But then on top of that, everything else. Now you got all your trauma. Now you got all your bullshit, right? All this crap that you're carrying around with you, that your hair triggers and and the things that really make you crazy, and the mood swings and the emotional outbursts and the I don't know what the hell is going on right now, and trying to figure out that with everything else that's going on. You could invite more misinformation into your life as what's going on. Oh, well, let me tell you what's going on. It's your chakras, right? It's not your Thetan. Now you're out of Scientology. Yeah. You know L. Ron Hubbard's full of shit. Oh.
But you haven't figured out other people are yet, I guess.
Well, here's the thing, right? So somebody comes up to you and is like, oh, yeah, no, we don't have to deal with any of those Thetans anymore. Because what was really going on the whole time was your chakras were just not in alignment, right? I'm just going to harp on that one because it's a good one. But it's like now somebody's going to sell you a whole new round of stuff. And the trauma that a person carries around with them can be misassigned to other causes, to other problems, other sources and issues. They don't recognize it as trauma springing from abuse, from, being dominated mentally for years, or gaslit or lied to, or. And they will misassign it to something else entirely and think that is their problem. And if you try to go in and say, well, hey, maybe, hold on, out come the triggers, right? And it becomes that much more of a challenge trying to deal with that. So those were the things, right, that I wanted to go over here tonight about all of this. Now, I think we have fixed our call-in line. I believe we did. So 984-214-4154. If you want to call in and chat, we can do that. I have the phone lines open. But I'd also like to know, if you don't want to call in, through the comments here, how have people been responding to this thing?
Well, Chaotic Kitten has this interesting story about a naturopath. Apparently, they gave them a bunch of misinformation and got her very sick and had trauma, and that's not good.
No.
And that's what can happen, is they tell you, oh, this is what's going on, and you believe them, and then it's traumatic. Maybe something else happens and gets worse, because you weren't taking care of the right thing in the first place.
Yeah. I will say this, and I think I've kind of said or alluded to this before, but it totally fits here tonight. So let's say this is it kind of sucks sometimes that there aren't cures for things.
It does. I wish there were.
Right? Like diabetes.
I wish it was so much easier to be like, okay, we've got the cure for diabetes. We've got the cure for cancer. We've got the cure for every other thing you can think of. If only, right?
Yeah. It's just a bummer because lacking that, people can turn to shysters, to con men, right? To confidence people, right? To frauds, fake gurus. The list of names is very, very long. Cult leaders, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. And out of desperation. And this desperation is completely understandable. It is very, very hard to come to a place of acceptance about things that are of a terminal nature. I can't pretend to understand what that feels like to be in that position. I can very much understand what it feels like to be in the position of having a chronic problem or illness and have chronic pain and be unable to do anything about it. That I know something about because of my back, right? But that's not the same thing as a terminal illness. But I will say that I understand. From my point of view, I feel like I can understand where some of the strong emotion about this comes from and the strong desire to pursue alternative medicine, alternative health things. And the thing about that, what's that saying about alternative that you know when you're dealing with what is it about alternative medicine? When it works, they just call it medicine.
Oh, yeah.
That thing, right?
What's the difference between? When does alternative medicine be? No, I can't remember now.
Yeah, you can't remember. I was trying to remember the stupid one. It's like this one-liner, right? But
it's like there and then it leaves.
It's like there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people on this world, on this planet, who have dedicated their lives to studying bodies and trying to figure them out and trying to figure out how to cure them of illnesses and diseases. And we've never been in a better place in our entire history of our species than we are right now, as far as being on top of things and in terms of quality of life. But it's never enough. There's always people who have issues and problems that we don't have solutions to. And according to the law of unintended consequences, our solutions for the problems we have now will create our problems of tomorrow.
Yep, and then in 100, 200 years, they'll look back and go, I can't believe they did that for medicine.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Barbarians, how could they, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, we have a call in the queue here, so let's see if we can pick it up and throw it on the line here. Hello, is this Andrea?
It is. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I could be better. I'm working. Well, I've got you in my pocket.
Okay, I hear you on that. Sounds like you're coming through on the show. Okay, so let's chat. What do you want to talk about?
So I went to an org. I called you and told you this before, and they gave me The Way to Happiness, and I read it, a couple pages of it. It's hurting my brain, to be honest. But one of the things I remember that kind of ties in with today, what you're talking about, is there was one point that I read, and it says that in order to, I don't know if it was hygiene or something, but anyways, it's like brush your teeth or chew gum. But it doesn't say anywhere like, I don't know, go see a dentist. And is that...
You're talking about The Way to Happiness book here?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to brush your teeth, but you definitely still need to go to the dentist.
Yeah. It's a subtle point, isn't it? Right? Because The Way to Happiness, the point of that book is to put you in the driver's seat 100%, right? So I guess that's an interesting thing you noticed about that. That's good.
I don't know. Like, I'm trying to read. It's taking me a long time because I get a page or two in and I'm like, is this person on crack? Like, really? Like, nothing they say makes sense. Like, even just generic things like how to take care of yourself is like brush your teeth and chew gum. Maybe go to the dentist. Maybe see a doctor every once in a while. I don't know. These are things, and like one of them was like, tell the person you're around they need to take a shower. I'm like, excuse me? Who's doing that?
Right?
Other than a parent to a child, who's going to go up and say, you know what, excuse me, but you really think you need to go have a shower? Nobody's doing that. Nobody.
Well, remember who wrote this thing. L. Ron Hubbard was definitely somebody who did not have a problem telling people to go take a shower, right?
God.
The concept of boundaries, in other words, was, a little foreign to him.
That's funny.
But it also says that you should be friends with your children. And I'm like, no. You're not supposed to be friends with your children. You're supposed to be their parent.
Exactly.
That is a different role.
From what I've heard from you guys, he said neither to his children. So
correct. Correct. Yeah, he was not even a
Oh.
friend to his children. So, a lot of L. Ron Hubbard's advice is basically him writing to himself in a mirror.
Right?
And if you read it from that point of view, it might make more sense.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But like I said, I read like a couple pages and I'm like, no, can't do this. It hurts. My brain hurts.
Right. What was it that got you interested in reading that book in the first place?
I turned 50 today, actually.
Oh, wow.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Since I've been in high school, I did a book report or a project or something on Charles Manson. So cults have just always naturally interested me, I guess. So I know Scientology is a huge cult. So it's just like, what do they do? What's the hook? Like, I don't understand. So I know you said before, Way to Happiness isn't so bad. Like, it's not horribly cultish. It's kind of like, just some
common sense stuff.
I was like,
yeah.
okay, well, let me read that one. And I was like, no, this is not common sense. This is kind of dumb. This hurts my brain. So I'm still stuck on how do people read that and go, this sounds like a good thing to join. I don't get it.
I'm not sure what to tell you about that. I mean, I grew up with it. I framed it a very particular way in my life, and so I guess that's where I'm coming from on it. But you don't see me passing that thing out either, right? I mean, it's from 1980. It's pretty dated advice in some ways. But other than that, I'm not sure what else to say.
I understand your point of view growing up with it. That makes more sense because you just do what you're taught.
Yeah.
Now, what's your thing? Would you ever read that and go, this makes perfect sense?
No.
No. I think in terms of, I think what I've tried to do is frame that book as something that is much more acceptable to a general population than Scientology, A History of Man.
Yeah.
Where we're going to talk about.
I haven't gotten that far in yet.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about stuff that happened 20 million years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where you get sci-fi, weird, crazy stuff, right? But The Way to Happiness is a lot more of a bridging book, and a lot more people than you may imagine have paid an awful lot of money to Scientology to sponsor printings of that book with their company's logo or their picture on it so they could distribute, give it around to their friends or their company or whatever. So it has some degree of acceptability out there.
That's just nuts to me.
Yeah, I hear you.
I can't. My friends tell me I'm weird all the time. So I was like, is it just me or is this book like insane?
Well, I definitely appreciate your point of view on it. So thanks for sharing that.
And I've only gotten 75 pages into your book, but so much better on my brain. I will say that so far.
That's the spirit. Okay, good. Yeah, get back to my book. You'll find it a much more satisfactory read.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking my call, and have a great night.
Thank you. Thanks for calling in.
Good
Appreciate
night.
it. All right. Cool. All right. I think.
About 10 minutes,
Yeah. Anybody else wants to call in? We got some time. But it'll have to be the next couple minutes.
I liked Xion's comment earlier where he said, only floss the teeth you want to keep.
I know. I saw that too. That was very good.
That was hilarious.
That's the kind of thing you would tell a kid.
Yeah.
Well, do I have to floss them all? No.
This one's you want to keep.
Yeah. It's a perfect line. Did your mother tell you that? Yeah, don't forget to press that like button. I am horrible, guys. I have got to be one of the worst self-promoters on the internet when it comes to telling y'all to like, share,
yeah,
buy,
like so many of the
subscribe.
other ones that like I'll watch or listen to, they're like this, subscribe that, go to this website.
Yeah, just don't know. Super chats, you know, I haven't gotten a super chat in a while. Anyway,
true, yeah.
that kind of stuff. Just please support the channel, support the show, help me out, you know, all that kind of stuff. You guys know what to do. It's been a pretty popular evening, I think, tonight for live streaming. There's a lot going on right now, so I'm going to chalk that up to our viewership this evening. But I hope a lot of people will check this show out on the replay, because I really do think there's a lot of valuable information we covered tonight about how, I mean, this is culty stuff, right? It relates directly. This isn't like some disrelated thing. Medical misinformation is rampant in every single cult I've ever had anything to do with. And I mean every one, all the way to Nexium. The amount of nonsense that these people will peddle in these groups about how to take care of your body, how to cure your body, how to raise children, how to deal with medical issues with kids. It's just enormous, an enormous amount of stuff that is just completely wrong. So I thought this was a good way to try to throw that out there and also connect it with some of what Mel talks about. And yeah, I need to spend some time and retool my merch. That's a good point, Elk of Antioch. I will get onto that. Lots and lots going on right now. What I'm really trying to focus on right now is there's been all kinds of distraction in the community lately. But I am trying really hard to, especially over the next week, to just kind of push all of that out of my head and space and attention and just focus on getting this metering thing done. Because that's coming not next week, but the week after. And I'm really down to the wire on this thing. And I'm like, Benson merch. Yes, I believe.
Oh, that would be so good.
I believe, by the way, if you guys check out my Spreadshirt store, I think there is one Benson thing up there. I know I started making something with him. You might check that out. I think I've got a Benson Snuggles Not Struggles design up there, but you'll have to check it out. Oh gosh, X-Cyan, absolutely. Yeah, he says here I could do a whole show about mental health. 1 in 5 adults has mental illness and more than 50% don't receive treatment. Yeah, let me please refer you guys to a podcast I did about a month ago with Dr. Jessica Schleider, Harvard-trained clinical psychologist or psychiatrist who has a whole book on, I think it's called Small Treatments, Big Effects. We talked about the statistics, we talked about the access to mental health care, and we talked about a potential solution to that problem, which she has put forward in her book. And I am so pumped about it. I'm remembering it to this day. And I'm not going to stop pushing it, because I just think that it is an incredibly bright idea that Dr. Schleider has had in her book. And so interviewing her was a real pleasure. And I hope you guys will check that Speaking of Cults podcast out. Because, boy, is there, I think it's crucial information, personally. Yeah. And what do we have here? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, Chaotic Kitten, you can call in anytime you want and talk about that. Absolutely. Next week, week after, whatever, when we're on live, just call in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're okay with that. We're doing the calls near the end of the show, because usually we have, monologuing or subject matter or whatever we're going to go over. But, last 15 minutes or so, last 10 to 15 minutes of the show, we dedicate to calls. And you can absolutely call in anytime about anything. I'm wide open for anybody to call me on stuff, Y'all know the kind of stuff that I want to talk about on the show and what we do here. So I'm not afraid of hearing from you guys. All right. So I guess we should start wrapping up.
Yeah.
Let's get our critical thinking
All
card
right.
of the week out.
Let's see what we have this week.
Exactly. While she's doing that, let me tell you that tomorrow you're getting a podcast from moi. Okay. It's a little less than an hour, and I'm talking about stuff you're going to want to hear. So basically, tomorrow we're going to take apart the idea that you have to be a moron to join a cult. I figured it was time to tackle that particular line. So you'll see a podcast on that tomorrow, and you will see me live here for Critical Q&A on Sundays. That seems to be a pretty settled thing at 1 o'clock Denver time, and then me and Tony on Monday. So what do we have here?
We have the fallacy of appeal to emotion.
What? I've never heard of that before.
Manipulating an emotional response in place of a valid or compelling argument. So Luke didn't want to eat his sheep brains with chopped liver, I don't either, and Brussels sprouts, but his father told him to think about the poor, starving children in a third world country who weren't fortunate enough to have any food at all. Yep. Who's heard that one from their parents before? Raise your hands. Yeah, I think that goes along with what we were talking about tonight too. It is an appeal to emotion because you are frustrated because you want a perfect answer, like we said, and you're not getting those answers, and everything is tough, and you want something easy and fix it, and they appeal to your emotion, and they're like, "We'll take care of all your problems," and you're like, "Okay, do that." And that's just, no one's ever going to fix all your problems.
That's all true. Elke Van Eyck, I see your requests in there. Thank you for throwing that at me. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap up, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming around and watching us gabber on at a mad rate. We always appreciate the viewership. Always appreciate your support. Of course, you can always contact me for consultation. I am available all the time to help you talk through, deal with issues, problems, whatever, relating to coercive control. That's what I know about, and that's what I can help with, okay? I'm not a therapist or counselor, and that's not what I'm going to offer you. I do not do licensed counseling or therapy. I give advice, direction, guidance, and support. That's what I do. And if you want any of that, you can contact me. Also, if you have friends or family who are involved in some coercive situation and you don't know what to do about that, and you would like to talk to somebody who might have some ideas, you can always contact me about that as well. Okay. There's my elevator, sort of elevator, whatever. Yeah, Sunday Live, 1 o'clock.
Yep.
All right, guys. And thanks for coming around. Thank
You're
you for
welcome.
your wonderfulness tonight. And there we go. You guys have a great weekend.
Good night.